All right, so let's quickly go through Bitcoin today. We're getting consolidation, right? Exactly where kind of I've talked about. So our initial consolidation right now, kind of where I talked about the channel where there would be some sort of support, would be right here around where this 9 is. So like 54 area, and we kind of went a little bit below it. We went as low as 53. Um, so we're just kind of ranging here, which is good, which is what I wanted to see, and what I've kind of been wanting to see for a while. It's really nice whenever price goes up, but you need times of consolidation to build support areas, because if you get just a big price run up, uh, you're not really creating spaces or areas in the price where you're going to get support. So run ups, support, sideways, getting buyers. That's really what you want to see. So I mean, yeah, we've been down for 2 weeks, 2.7% and 4 point, say just say 5%. So about 7% based on the close from the high that we got like 3 weeks ago almost. How far are we? We are, 11% down. We went as far as 14, but that's really nothing. Uh, I'll highlight the stop and reversal point again. That's at around 48. We could get another week, another down week um, next week. That also ends the month, right? 3 days or 4 days, and then ends the month. So we could get, this SAR is gonna reprint a little bit higher. Like I said, that with the Fibonacci, we could be getting this area right here. Where are we at? Here. We could be getting consolidation between 51 and 61. That's a big range, but it's the same thing that we were having whenever we were getting consolidation between 50 and 40. Um, and then we broke out from there. So everything's looking good. We're actually getting our funding rate is actually starting to go negative. It was actually, yeah, so it's kind of going, negative. It's starting to go negative on the weekly, which is great. Um, and then it's kind of flat to neutral on the daily. I think on the 4 hour it did go negative, and then we got the price bounce. How low did we get? Yeah, 53 was the even, and then we can go look at it on the hourly. I really don't pay attention to it much on the hourly, but um, yeah. So I think that's all I kind of wanted to show. We're just consolidating. That boring times are actually good. This is a good time for accumulation. Uh, you know, Bitcoin price is going sideways. Maybe we're ranging for a couple weeks. Let's look at it on the monthly. Yeah, so on the monthly we're on a 3. This is if you continuation of the count. Just consolidation. We can look at the Bollinger Bands again because I did say last time we were looking at the Bollinger Band width and that we were getting a decrease in volatility, at least for the moment, and we are. And I highlighted these 3 little peaks when we were coming down on volatility on the weekly. I think we were still relatively high, but we could come to this area and then, get a bounce. So I'll bring up the RSI real quick. RSI is starting to break down here. We could get a breakdown next week. Uh, I think it's definitely possible. I'll bring up the CMF real quick. We hit a 6. If we would have got a 9, if you look here on the RSI, we went over sold, and then we had a nice bounce. Right here is that bullish divergence. So you actually could have traded this if you wanted to. It was very, very clear. This is stuff that I point out all the time. So you have price going down with the indicator going up. That was just a perfect indication of buying. You could have bought here, and then we could have rode this up to the 9, which would have been about 4%. If I bring up my 30 MA, which is this pink one, I'll just change this real quick. So it could just be 30. We can just have one on here. You could have sold. I mean, we went above it. We're really not consolidating. The 30 MA, I mean, it's getting you in and out of trades, but it doesn't look like the last couple of trades have been that profitable. And I'll bring up the CMF, and you can see the same setup there on the hourly. Whenever you get these big price movements, again, here's the same downward price movement with upward CMF, and that's a buy. and you could have rode this up, took your profits, and then exited. So yeah, that's about it for Bitcoin. I'll go over a couple. I'm gonna start going over some news, uh, and maybe some cool articles that I've recently found. So news, really not Bitcoin related, but Robinhood is filing, I guess, SEC paperwork for IPO. We'll see how that goes. Is that really relevant to Bitcoin? Probably not. But I did run across. I was listening to another podcast. It's called "What Bitcoin Did," and they were talking about this article. Actually, the individual who wrote it here was talking about, like Bitcoin, kind of like on a larger scale, like Bitcoin on Mars, Bitcoin on the moon. And this article is called Bitcoin Astronomy. And I haven't finished it yet. It's actually kind of long. I'm going through each section trying to understand kind of like the ideas and kind of get a better grasp of, what this article's. It's just, I mean, it's like a thought piece. There is some parts of the article that kind of tells you the limitations of Bitcoin, if limitations of mining on Mars, and it tries to develop rules and kind of ideas based on what civilizations might do on Mars, and they talk about a theoretical Musk coin. So yeah, it's cool. I mean, and if you don't like to read, there is an audio. You can listen to it on. There's an audio. As you follow along, you can listen to it on Audible. So, and there's actually, so if you go here, there's 3 parts to this. So it's really good. You take time to kind of go through it. It's very interesting. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, and so another thing I wanted to highlight. I had talked about it before. These this golden ratio multiplier, and I'm starting to think that we're hovering around this kind of, this golden ratio of 3, and this is kind of like where we should be. It's kind of predicting that this is where the top should be, but we're getting consolidation around it, and I'm thinking that if this is, this cycle is definitely different than the last, and you can see it just based on this. There are multiple price bands. Usually, whenever we get to this upper red area band and we break through it, that's whenever we run to a price high, and we've done that twice already, and we haven't gone up to the upper band. So this market is definitely different. We're getting a lot of indicators that have been useful for the past decade exhibiting things that they haven't before. So right now we're ranging in this kind of like bullish extension area. So, and we've been pulling back, and then we've been raising, we've been breaking out, but we've been giving this band enough time to reach the upper price of what the overbought area was. Like, so what I mean is, like, right here we broke it, and I was like, okay, so 60,000. We pretty much got to 60,000 within the 60 days. This is closing price, so this isn't wicking. This isn't where the price wicks, but we pretty much got to 60,000. We did get to 60,000. We got to 61,000. It was short by like a week or 5 days, but we pretty much got there within 2 months. So whenever we broke out here, that's like 80K within 2 months. So that would be, April. That's kind of like how this has been happening. This cycle, like I said, this hasn't been showing you or giving you the movement like it did previously. So I'm kind of starting to think that could we potentially be seeing a prolonged bull cycle where price, volatility is diminished, and then we see, more steady prices. Maybe we don't see that 85 to 80% drop. We see, which I had talked about before. We see, 65 to 50% drops, because there's also a lot of on-chain analysis that's showing that there's a lot of coins being moved away off of exchanges. So yeah, we'll see. It's just something I kind of thought of, and it's only because we've just been here for so long around this kind of golden ratio multiplier where before it's signaled a top and then prices crashed quickly, where here we've kind of been in this area since January. So it's been almost, 3-4 months where we've been in this range. So something's definitely different. The market actors are definitely different than the previous cycles. So it's something to keep an eye on and know kind of like this is uncharted territory. Even though we have some indicators that are working, it's kind of uncharted territory as far as where could we potentially go. There's a lot of things that are just different. They're different, so it's good to be mindful of it. And then one other thing, I talked about we were out of Drive Shack. I talked about the last video, but I want to show TLRY because there was actually a trade available if you would have looked on the hourly, and it was very quick. You only had a couple of hours to do so, and it was based off of these. It wasn't based off of 30 MA. It was based off of the RSI and the CMF. So, my CMF didn't come up. Here we go. So, and you had this bullish divergence. So, if you go here and you see, it's kind of right here, but we had the 9, and if you would have bought the 9, eventually price did go back to it because there's high probability that price retests this with a green number, and it did. But you can see right here where you had, and I said it was very quick. It's just within a couple of hours. So you had kind of, let's call it flat price, right? So you had flat price with your indicators going up, showing strength right here. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Right? With your indicators going up. And it was really on a 2-hour time frame. So you had CMF going up, RSI going up. This isn't going to stay negative for that long. And you can actually just kind of zoom out and see that whenever you had these little dips like this, so negative, this one was at, what was this one at? Like 20, 21. Whenever you had these large dips, you had recoveries in price, right? There's a dip right there, and then, it went down, but then that candle wicked up. You had an increase in the CMF. So you could have taken this trade right here, either at this candle or this candle. And then you could have sold once it retested this 9 and then showed. So right there, that 2 is a reversal candle. So that kind of showed weakness there. And then you also started to get your CMF started to trend back down. You can see here in your RSI also started going back down with the reversal candle. So you could have taken a position here, and then you could have exited here, all for about, a 5% return within the day, like an intraday trade. So I kind of want to show that. I spotted it later in the day that was a possibility. Yeah, so also I want to go over oil real quick because I had talked about it a couple of weeks ago or a couple of days ago about how it was hitting this historical trend. I see a lot of people talk about higher gas prices and all that. It's going to the moon. Historical trend lines are extremely difficult to break. And this one, oil hit on a historical trend line. And we're seeing a pullback already. So you can see it on the daily. I didn't redraw this line. I just left it. It's a line that's been here. I'll anchor it. But it's been here it's been on my chart for an extremely long time. And look where the daily was. It pretty much touched it, right? It had this 9, came back. Now we're going below it. There's a lot of sell pressure in oil. We have a 9 right here at 53.93. The day closed at 57. High probability we're going to get back down to this 9. Let me see. I think bonds are starting to make a recovery. The yields are going back down. How that's associated with oil, not so much. I just think oil was overbought, and the demand for oil is decreasing year over year. So yeah, we'll see. Eventually this historical trend line is going to break. What's going to take it? What is it going to take for it to break? I'm not sure. But in hindsight, I guess the catalyst will be very clear. But as of right now, we're at an historical trend line. It's going down. it should probably find support in the low 50s. Could you take a position on this? You could. I went away from trading oil. It's very frustrating to trade it. There's not big returns and moves unless you get a leveraged ETF or something like that. It's just something nice to watch, kind of test and practice your TA skills on. Where are we at here? Yeah, so it came down. You're at support. If this breaks, I mean, you can almost call this a range, or this could be kind of like an odd inverted cup and handle. You're going to get 57 to 6, so about a $10 move, probably back down, low. I mean, that's 50s, right? You're going to go back down to the low 50s, which would be right here because this didn't get retested with a green one. I mean, with a red one right here at 53. So I'm thinking we're going to get lower 50s. And when is that going to happen? We're on a 6. I mean, I would say within the next month, right? If I had to actually put a time on it, within the next month, we'll get back to lower 50s. And there's massive support at 40. So it could, if the price goes below 51 or 50, closes below that, let's pull up the RSI real quick. Yeah, so it broke down on the weekly, on the daily. I mean, it can go negative and then get some price rise. Yeah, so let's see. Lower prices, and we have our indicator going up. We could see a little bit of a rally, maybe for a couple of days, but I still think this is bearish. Our CMF is rising as prices going down. So we could see a little bit of a rally, but I still think we're definitely going below 55. We're going to get back down to the low 50s. Nothing else. I'll pull up the S&P. We've kind of just been boring on the S&P. Yeah, looks like we hit a higher high last week. Retested some areas, some 9s here. Kind of just staying where we're at. Is there anything I can see that we could be breaking down at all? Let's pull up the daily. Let's look at these moving averages. So they're coming down. I would say if we take out this 2, this 38.86, we could get lower. I don't see any clear patterns other than, maybe drawing some sort of trend line. Yeah, so you can see right here, this is major support, but that's a big move for the S&P to come down this much. Yeah, 4 or 5%, that's a big move. So I would watch this one. If it breaks down below this 38.50, which would be what? Another 2% move, say? I'd be very cautious. There's going to be support right here, right around 3,800. So we'll see. All right, so I think that's about it. Any questions or comments, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.